Welcome everybody. Today we have a very special guest. We have Miss Andrea in the building, and Andrea and I have been working together for what has it been? It's only been about 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have came in and literally just killed it, right? And
Yeah.
it's been really cool for me to see because you remind me a lot of myself coming in. It wasn't like the work wasn't the problem or the lack of knowledge. It was just like you need, well, I guess it was lack of knowledge, but you just needed someone to say, hey, do this. It's
Right.
starting to click for you, which I really enjoy. So um first off, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is just, I mean, tell me. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want you, Andrea, just to take me into kind of your journey, your fitness journey, leading up until now. Kind of
Yeah.
what you've, some diets you've done, kind of the struggles mentally you've had.
Yeah. So I was always kind of like a thicker kid, growing up, just always kind of chunky, self-aware that I was chunkier than others, and I think that plays into your mindset a little bit too. That kind of like sets you up for failure a little bit. It's something you have to work through as well. But as I like got married and started like working out and just trying to feel better about myself, did some of these like group things where you can like join a group Facebook thing and everybody's kind of doing the same meal plan and stuff like that. That worked when I was 25 years old, and here I am at 37 after having a child and things like that, and career has progressed and different things like that. I travel sometimes, so I wasn't doing all that when I was 25. The stressors are different, and family life is different. So then when you have a baby and life starts taking over, it's hard to find time to go to the gym. It's hard to like be able to do the things I once did. I was running half marathons. I don't have the time for that right now. That's just not the lifestyle I can have. And really just started packing on some weight. COVID happened. We all started working from home, traveling stopped. So you're kind of in this stuck area where you're working from home and you don't really get out in public much, and you can put on weight if you have a desk job and you sit all day. And I wasn't being um forcing myself to get up and walk and things like that, right? And so the weight just started piling on. So I started doing keto, and I had a gym at home, right? And I was doing all these things, following all these different programs, trying to do it myself. I'd give up after 2 to 3 weeks because I was like, I'm not seeing results. I don't get this. No one's explaining the science to me. I have medical background, so the science to me is very important, and I've just always given up. And I think some of that too is in maturing. You kind of have to get your mindset right too. Like, this is a physical and will be a physical change, but if you don't have your mindset right to like trust the process, that's something I've had to mature in and understand that you're not going to see the results right away. But I know that you guys know the science, and if I don't trust you guys, then what am I doing here, right? So the keto stuff, yeah, it works initially and you lose those 5 pounds, and then a weekend comes up and you go have fun with your friends, and then it comes back on, and then you get frustrated, right? So I've done that now for 6 years, back and forth, just like losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight. So I'm kind of at this place right now where it's like, okay, I can't be in control of myself anymore because I'm not holding myself accountable. I'm not doing the things that I need to do. I don't know where I need to be at calorie wise and things like that. Obviously, everything on the internet says 1,200 calories and go do 3 hours of cardio. Like all of that stuff, like just doesn't work for me or my lifestyle. So I think part of it is just mentally maturing and just saying like, okay, I'm ready to do this, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm just going to trust those that know way better than me. So that's where I'm at today.
No, for sure, dude. And thank you for going into that. That was great. I think that at a certain point, and listen, it sucks that it takes so long for us to really say I'm fed up. Because
Yeah.
my story sounds very similar of trying everything on my own. And if I here's the thing, right? Is if I knew 5 years ago, right? I mean, I'll take a year of struggle, but 5 years ago, I mean, I couldn't even imagine where I'd be right now. So, it feels like and this is kind of what I did, right? I would be gaining and losing the same 20 pounds like every
Yeah.
year, right?
Yeah.
And so the most here's like a really important thing for me too is kind of relationships with food, right? So, really quick, where we're at right now, where Andrea's at, right, is you just listened to her talk about some of her struggles. What we're doing is implementing a reverse diet process right now. Okay. And so we actually just increased food this week. She's so far down 5 pounds from when we first started, and her body's reducing inflammation, feeling really good, right? So I want a second part of this is also like your relationship with food and also enjoying your
Yeah.
life too, because like you mentioned earlier, you would do keto, go out with friends, and then it would feel like you gain it all back. But then also the mentality that we go through, just saying, hey, you're going to see a fluctuation, being aware of that.
Yeah.
Take me into what your relationship with food was like, some of the actual, like how dieting did affect you, and like improperly dieting affected you mentally
Yeah.
up until now, because I do feel like you really have completely changed your mentality around food
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, I
last
would
3
always
weeks.
like, skip the chips when we went out for like say like Mexican food, right? Or like not eat the tortillas, or I was really trying to stay away from carbs and like kind of got this mentality of like carbs are bad. Um, but then well, maybe we can get into that later. Like now I notice a difference when I work out after eating carbs. You know what I mean? I'm starting to get into that routine where I'm like, oh, this is a different feeling that I haven't felt for a long time. But yeah, just staying away from those carbs. Like I even like, wouldn't go have like birthday cake on someone's birthday, right? Or I would do all these things, but then I obviously wasn't physically making progress. So I would say all of these things were bad, and I would stay away from them. I would do pretty good for 2 to 3 weeks, and then like something would come up and I would, just binge and like eat whatever, right? Or um, I would do good all day, and then 9 o'clock came and I was like starving. And so I would just raid the pantry, or I get busy when I'm working and I'm like, oh, we ordered pizza last weekend. I'm just gonna like scarf that down because I'm so busy and I have nothing prepped. So I would just eat that, even though that wasn't a part of my plan. So yeah, those different things. It's almost like when you tell yourself it's bad, you want it more. It's really tough mentally because it's like you have to stay away from that, then you like want it more. But yeah, I really stayed away from carbs and things like that for like a long time. And now that I'm eating them, you definitely notice a difference when you're training and things like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a good point. For so long, and here's the thing, right? Carbs are everywhere. And I
yeah.
do think that avoiding carbs is like in society, women, men, everybody, right? Carbs are looked down upon in such a bad
Mhm.
light. And my favorite thing, and I take it for granted now, is just how important they are, even in a
Yeah.
fat loss sense, right? Because listen, you say you did keto. How long did you do keto for?
Oh goodness, like off and on for probably
Yeah,
5 years.
off and
Yeah.
on.
I've
And
done
here,
intermittent fasting. I've done all of those things, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to eat breakfast. And then of course I would see results because I was cutting out a meal, you know what I mean?
for sure.
And things like that. But still, once it's just not sustainable. Like I guess that's the biggest point is like I tried it. I kept going back to it because I'd see those initial results. But I'm at this point where I'm like, all of these things that I've tried on my own are just not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so really quick, what I want to do is I'm going to just share my screen and really quick just go over kind of um where I'm just going to look at your food and talk about kind of where we're at with that. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull
Okay.
this up. Because I mean, when we're doing keto, we are basically eating no carbs. And
Mhm.
now we are on a day to day basis, you are eating 190 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
And mentally, right? Like I know that at first it's like, holy crap, he wants me to eat all these carbs. And like I mentioned earlier, we're in the reverse diet phase. We do tend to see the scale trend down, even though we are increasing food. But we've gone from 211 to your lowest of 205, and then some fluctuations here and there. Super Bowl, obviously. But I mean, how does it feel? And like you mentioned, you feel so much like more energy. Your workouts are different because glycogen stores are finally getting
Yeah.
filled up. So, how has eating 190 grams of carbs felt physically,
Yeah.
mentally as well?
Yeah. So at first it was really tough because I was like, okay, what do I eat for carbs? I know that sounds crazy, but like what's the best source of carbs and really trying to figure out how that fits into what I was used to eating. So like I like now it's crazy. I make a breakfast casserole and I'll have like potatoes in it, which is something I would have never done, right? And it's like so good. And I'm like, why didn't I eat this? And what's nice about it is like I'll make a big old casserole and it feeds like the whole family. I used to have to like make something separate for myself and make something separate for my family. Um, and now it's like like I was afraid that I'd have to make all these things separate, and it's not like we're all eating the same things, which is nice, you know. Like last night I had like chicken broccoli alfredo with pasta. Like I haven't eaten like I don't choose to eat I never chose to eat pasta, you know. Just different things like that. Like I had fajitas for lunch today that I made for the week and had the tortillas and I had rice on the side. So like you have to wrap your mind around, okay, like what are the carbs that I'm gonna eat because you have just like avoided them for so long. Um, how do you feel? I laugh because I told you I wasn't sleeping good for like the first week or two. And I honestly, like now that I think about it, I wonder if it's like from the energy I was receiving from that. I know that sounds crazy, but I was just like wide awake and thinking about all of these things. But now that I'm like in a routine, and my workouts are going great, I am sleeping better and things like that. But I notice a difference when I lift. So I remember just feeling like spent, you know, after a workout, like when I was like doing low carb or keto and all of that stuff, or I would intermittent fast and I wouldn't have like the fuel needed. I find myself even in week 3, I'm trying to find that sweet spot with weight and stuff right now with like what I can hit. I noticed that I can hit higher weights than I was hitting before. Like mentally, I can talk myself through hitting those last two or three reps when before I would have just given up. And then like even this week I've noticed like walking away, like you're gonna laugh at me. I feel swole. Like seriously, I feel like my muscles are getting the fuel that they need. And I didn't feel that way before. I would just feel like sore the next day and things like that. But this you almost feel like your muscles are full. And I can tell that that's like a different feel than I felt like working out without that fuel needed for that, if that makes sense. Like it's a different feeling in my body. So
Yeah, dude, and like I legit get chills just here because and that's why like I really wanted to bring you on because it makes sense and you're feeling like you're very aware of how your body feels because what carbs are literally like glycogen, right? And no one
mhm.
talks about glycogen ever. Like no one
Right.
like I didn't know about glycogen until I had my own coach and he mentioned
Mhm.
it to me and I'm like, holy crap, carbs literally they literally fill your muscles up with energy. Like that's literally what
Yeah.
carbs do for your muscles. And it's such a good point when you say, hey, I can get those extra 2 reps because you have glycogen. When we go into a fat loss phase, and this is why so many people who do go into who are constantly dieting, training, just you feel like, man, this is tough. All the
Yeah.
cardio, you're beat down. And so when you go into that fat loss phase, those are things, and that's why like we have dedicated periods where we cut your food, we cut carbs. After a period of time, you're gonna get some fatigue, and you're gonna
Yeah.
be like, man, I used to do this every day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just a really good point, just knowing what carbs doing. So realistically, you are just on pace to have an awesome transformation, right? Is this as glamorous? And this is like I want a dose of reality for people. Is this as glamorous as keto where you lose 20 pounds in a month? And it's not.
No,
It's not
I
as
think,
glamorous.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the difference, right? Is like maturing a little bit. Like I think there's you obviously you can mature in age, but maturing in your understanding of the science behind it too. I think that people just need to like take a minute to understand that if you want sustainable changes, you're gonna have to like go with the journey and understand the ride and like do your research right with and trust the people that know like what they're doing and trust their research. Um, and I think people need to get to a point too where like they're sick of their own stuff, right? Like I had to get sick of my terrible excuses and I had to get sick of my own crap before I realized like, okay, I can't do this on my own. I need professional help, right? So yeah, I think part of it is just like mentally growing up a little bit and saying like, okay, yes, I'm not seeing these results today, you know, but I'm seeing different results. And you need to be in tune with your body. You can't just like go to the gym and just go to the gym. Like you've really started teaching me like slowing down with the movements and like really understanding form and stuff like that. Before I would just go and be like da 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 da, do my workout and be done. And just like slowing down the movements and different things like that did like really do make a difference. And so just yeah, you just kind of have to enjoy the journey a little bit. I mean, is it hard? No. I think for me, like I I used to hate meal prepping. I like count on it now because if I don't have that breakfast made, if I don't have that lunch made for my own personal organization in my life, like my lifestyle, I have to have that ready just because of the way that my day goes. So,
Sure.
yeah, some days I am spending, Sunday meal prepping, and is that the most glamorous thing to do? Like, no, but I know that it's going to bring me the results I want. So, I put in my macros the night before. That's just what I do. I'll even like if I make something I know I'm gonna eat every day, I'll put it in for a couple of days so I don't have to think about it. So yeah, you do have to take time figuring out your macros. You do have to take time to weigh out your food. You do have to take the time to do that stuff. It's not always glamorous, but if you want to see the results, those are the things you have to do. You have to understand how much different foods weigh and stuff like that. So it's all about the long-term journey. I think that people need to wrap their head around that.
For sure. It is. And I think once you see, you got to see a little bit of like what it does for you at first. And that's why the consistency is important, because you're seeing what it's doing to your body to
Yeah.
give you that motivation to really look forward to that long term, the fat loss phase.
Yeah.
It's literally just fat loss. And then once we get into the fat loss phase, accelerating that process. Andrea, I have two more questions for you.
Mhm.
First one is, most women, most men are busy, right? They have busy lives.
Mhm.
You are a mom and you make it work.
Yeah.
So I want you to just give some advice. Like, what's the difference between someone who has the same situation as you, but feels like they don't have time compared to you? Like, what is the secret to making time to do the things that are important to you?
Yeah. So I used to make so many excuses to say like I need to do this for my job. I need to show up for my child. I need to show up for my team members. Like I love my work. I love my people. I love my team. I love my daughter. I show up for them every single day. But why am I not showing up for myself? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I was, where like I did put everybody above myself, but now I'm at this point where like my gym time is a meeting with myself, right? Just as important as my work meetings. If I don't spend the time to do that for myself, I'm always going to feel upset with myself. I'm always going to feel sluggish. And if I can't feel good about myself, I can't show up for those people that I care about, right? So I've really had to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to spend a little bit of time on me. Like it's what, an hour, maybe an hour and a half a day that's not just in the gym. I'm just saying like collectively with meal prepping and measuring foods. Why can't I spend that time on myself? It's very minimal time if you look at your entire day. Um, and like be proactive, right? Like I do sit down every week and I figure out what I'm going to eat every day. I figure out what sounds good. And not everybody has to be this way, but I am also the type of person that can eat the same thing over and over. So I don't care if I'm eating the same thing for breakfast every day. I don't care if I'm eating this. Like if you don't like that, then make something different. But I'm just saying to organize yourself and to make the time for it, keep it simple. Like it doesn't have to be these great gourmet meals. Like sometimes you just have to feel like I need a carb, I need a fat and a protein. Like it's not rocket science, right? Sometimes you feel like you're playing macro Tetris a little bit, but I think you start understanding kind of like the different portion sizes and things like that that you can have, and it becomes easier over time. But like I said, I spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes at night figuring out my macros for the next day. That way, when I wake up and I'm getting my little one ready for school, I'm doing like making my coffee, I'm doing all of those things, making her breakfast. I already know what I need to have, what I need to make for myself. Then I, have my gym time. I come home between meetings and I scarf down lunch. It's already ready to go. It's ready weighed out, measured out. So you have to find the time, but at the same time, you have to prioritize yourself sometimes too. And prioritizing yourself is the best thing that you can do for others in your life as well. So
For sure. Absolutely. And I think it takes some time to get to that point where you see that, right?
Yeah.
And basically what I'm hearing also is that this is like it is a priority to
Mhm.
you to feel good,
Yeah,
to take care of yourself, right?
for
It is a
sure.
priority, right? There's people out there who will say, I don't like eating the same foods. I mean, you brought up a great point, right? But it's like, okay,
Yeah.
would you rather just have a new meal, or would you rather lose the 20 pounds that you've been trying to lose for 6 years
Yeah.
because you can't eat the same food, right? And I'm not saying, like you said, if you want to spend the extra 20 minutes to have a new meal,
Yeah.
great. But I
But I
mean,
think you made a good point on our team call this week too. Like if I run to the office for the day with my friends and we decide to go grab lunch together, like I'm not gonna pack my lunch, right? Like
yeah,
I need to have the flexibility to go eat out with my friends, but I have a choice to make, right? I can either eat to adhere to my goals of what I'm trying to accomplish, or I can completely go off and then never make progress, right? So you have to keep yourself accountable in those times too. Like there are times that I want to eat something a little bit different and maybe I'm off. So then you have to make up for it at dinner, right? The dinner I planned in my macros the night before may look different if I ate something different for lunch, you know? So you do have to like be flexible a little bit in that way. And that's what I'm learning too, because I'm a very organized and rigid person. So like if I have my macros figured out, I'm like, no, I don't want to go out for dinner. I already have all my macros figured out. But you have to learn to be flexible for your lifestyle, right? So if you do, you just have to adjust somewhere else. It's just adjusting things. If you don't, then you're not going to see the progress, right? You have a choice to make at the end of the day. So
for sure. It literally just comes down to, is this important to you?
yeah,
You go out, eat with your friends, and basically, right, it's the option between, okay, so my favorite one is like Mexican food.
yeah,
I'm gonna say that for every 5 times I go to a Mexican restaurant, 4 of those I'm gonna get chicken fajitas, steak fajitas, whatever, right?
yeah,
If you're crushing it, right, you're pretty dang consistent, 80, 85%. That fifth time, go get the cheese enchiladas,
yeah,
go get the smothered burrito, because you've been so consistent. Like, you don't got to earn your food, but you really
right.
got to make those choices that make you feel better, that work towards your goal, because at the end of the day, if you keep following the same patterns that you have been, you're not going to succeed. But I do.
Right.
You know me. I believe in enjoying your life as well,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean going and making the wrong choices, right? You can go out and still be a part of the social gathering and
Yeah.
get chicken fajitas, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important. Now, Andrea, you've been amazing. This has been awesome. So my last question for you is, what made you trust me? Because listen, the first time we met was on a Zoom call. We talked
Yeah.
on Instagram, we had a conversation, and listen, it's a little bit, everyone's on the defense, social media. There's so many people out there who want to sell something, and so I'm genuinely curious. What made you trust me?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just kind of, and I appreciate it. But I do, like, being genuine is very important to me, and I try to do my best. Obviously, it's an investment to work with me, but one call, you found something, we had a great conversation, and yeah, I want to hear what you have to say there.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is as a female, you grow into these different roles. And, I have a mom hat, I have a work hat, I have, my own personal hat. I think sometimes it's really difficult to find yourself in all of that, right? And I think sometimes a lot of these things start overlapping and it's very like difficult. But I found you on Instagram one day and you specifically spoke to like successful females that are getting to the gym, but they just can't lose that weight. And I feel like that's just so relatable to me and even like my managers and my team. Like we come to work and we bust our tails every day for work. We find time to work out in between all of that busyness. And then, you have your families at the end of the day, and you just feel like you're trying your best, trying your best, trying your best. And you need someone to be able to relate with you, to understand that you do have a busy lifestyle, and that can just make it easy, right? Like the app that you have is easy. The way that like I live by my calendar, how psycho I am about the calendar. Like I am a calendar person. It is organized. It's very clear what you need me to do every day to be successful.
Yeah.
Um, so I just think like as a career driven mom, with all of these other demands, you just really spoke to me where I felt like someone finally related to where I'm at in life and could meet me where I was and just say like, you know, I'll do all the hard work and here you go and you just have to do it. Like I didn't need another thing that I had to figure out how many calories do I need to eat? What workout am I doing today? I don't have the time to figure all that out for myself. Like if someone would just say, here's your plan, go do it. Okay, we're gonna now increase your food and now we're gonna do a fat loss and like get me to where I need to go. I needed someone to do all that because I'm doing all these other things as a successful career driven woman and mom. So it was kind of one of those things where like you related to me, like you understood where I was at. You've worked with a lot of other women like this. I think there's a lot of people, even in my field, like I can't wait to like show people my results and say, go work with Nick because they're already like, what are you doing? Like you're in the gym every day again. People are already asking, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I think you just like really related to where I was at, met me where I was at, and I just needed someone to say like, here's your special formula for you, go do it, and we're gonna figure this out. And I was ready to jump on board. Like mentally, you have to get yourself there. I know I talk about that a lot, but like if you can't if you can't put in the work and make a decision that this is a priority for you, then you need to really check yourself because you just have to decide one day like I'm doing this and not look back. Some days are going to be harder, but I think at the end of the day, like you've just been able to come in and say do this, and you've made it very simple, very organized. I like the weekly calls with the team because I think it's nice to see that there's other people that are relating to you or in the same spot that you're in, with kids running around, with busy careers, and like we're all figuring this out together, right?
for
So
sure.
that community is important too.
Yeah, dude. I was pretty stoked just to see you hop in right away. There's no fear with you.
Yeah.
You really are just like a driven woman. And listen, I know a lot of people say like I'm not a woman, and but I do have a lot of experience with women. I do have a girlfriend and I have a daughter. We have 3 kids together, and I see from my perspective now, right? Because before it was a little bit harder, no kids,
Hmm.
single guy, but just through experience, and also, I'm going to be honest with you, women work a lot harder than men. I'm going to say that. And so it's very fun to work with women who typically work
Yeah.
harder than men. And I appreciate all the things that you said, Andrea. And we're 3 weeks in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
We have a good way to go, and we've already I mean, we're here doing a YouTube video because you've been killing it so much, and you've been a big part of the team, dude, showing up to every call. Like
Yeah.
you're literally just using the resources that are available to you and crushing it. So there's nothing else to it. I mean, dude, you are literally the prime example of how to succeed. And just I'm really stoked to have you on. And I appreciate you, all your kind words. And I just appreciate you choosing yourself, dude. It's okay to be selfish so you can be selfless, right? Uh,
Yeah.
there's no point in choosing everybody first, because then you're taking a back seat and they're not getting the you that they deserve
Yeah.
when
For
you're
sure.
making yourself happy. So Andrea, I really appreciate you being on here. And yeah, let's keep working, and I'm excited
Yeah. I'm
to
excited.
reach new heights. So I
We're gonna
appreciate
do
you.
awesome things.
All right. So have a great freaking day. I appreciate you, and reach new heights. All right.
Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.
All right. So you don't have to leave. I appreciate you very much, dude. That was awesome. That was like
Did I
that
answer everything okay?